Hey everybody, Jay here. I'm back with another quick video for you guys today. Today, I'm going to tell the story on my VF2. Let's get going.
Well, we're about to shoehorn one more machine in here. Let's go take a look. Got everything unpacked, or packed up I should say. All this stuff is just kind of like packed in here the best we could get it. Just had the floors cleaned and polished, which is pretty awesome. We've got a space cleared, and that's the VF2. VF2 is finally here. And it's covered in Smurf goo, as usual. It's crazy that this machine is like literally, it doesn't feel any bigger than the Super Mini mill that's in there at all. I mean, I guess maybe a little bit, but it's crazy.
This is my VF2SSYT. SS stands for super speed, YT stands for extended travel. All VF2s have 30 inches of X travel. Most VF2s have 16 inches of Y travel. The YT version has 20 inches, and they all have about 20 inches on the Z. This specific machine has 833 inch per minute cutting speeds, 1400 inch per minute rapids, a 30+1 side mount tool changer, which ironically is pretty fast. The new servo driven tool changer is pretty impressive. I have a 30 horsepower, 15,000 RPM spindle, 1,000 PSI through spindle coolant, the wireless probing system, triple augers, high-speed machining, and then dynamic work offsets with tool center point control. Pretty much every single control option you can get. I chose this specific machine because I wanted maximum capability in the smallest footprint I could get. The biggest components that we actually machine in my facility are 18-inch square, 2-inch thick steel plates, so they're pretty good size, and I wanted to be able to do that in one setup without having to move it around the table. We also needed full 5-axis simultaneous cutting capability, and that's why we invested in the TRT 160. And we knew from time to time we would be using end mills as small as 1 millimeter and maybe even smaller in some materials like copper. So we opted to spend a little bit of extra money to get the 15,000 RPM spindle. And so far we're pretty happy with all the options we've chose. This was no small decision for me. There was a lot to it. So I did a tremendous amount of planning, both on the computer using Fusion 360, assembling components and configurations on the mill so I could see what the rotary and the vise and our pallet system would look like on the table. And then I did a lot of comparisons outside of the computer. There weren't a lot of other machines in the running. There were a couple that I looked at, but primarily there was a Doosan DNM 4500. And it's really kind of tricky because I think there are three main areas that, for me, that I was really comparing everything in. The first was just straight up machine capability, like how does this machine stack up to, say, a Doosan DNM 4500 or any other machine with similar travels? And then you look at the control system, and last but not least, there's the support system. And I mean that in a kind of a global sense. Not just from the factory or the manufacturer, and not just from your dealer, but from everybody. When you look on machining forums, when you look on Facebook groups, when you look at just the number of users that run a specific machine, that way if you need help with programming or hiring operators or looking for spare parts down the road, there are a lot of things to take into consideration. When comparing the VF2 to the Doosan, I really felt like if I was only doing 3-axis milling, there's a really good chance I may have a Doosan in my shop right now. There are a lot of nice features that come with the Doosan. It's got really robust, larger linear rails, larger ball screws. It uses roller linear guide that has a dual contact spindle. A lot of really powerful features. However, the one thing that was absolutely critical for us was having a full 5-axis simultaneous capability. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but even when I was talking to Ellison and my sales guy, who I like quite a bit, when I told them that I needed 5-axis capability, the first thing they said is, we're going to have to upgrade the control. And so if you really wanted a Doosan with 5-axis, you got the Doosan DNM 4500, they upgraded the control, and then you ended up having to buy a Sam Cully 5-axis, or a rotary table. Come to find out, it was actually 4+1, not full simultaneous. But when you buy the Haas machine, you get a fully integrated solution from one source, and I really like that. I don't think the VF2 necessarily is as rigid. I don't think it can take as heavy a cuts or probably hold as tight of a tolerance, on the very first try, like you would with the Doosan machine. But when I added everything up, when you take into consideration the fact that Haas themselves has tons of video content that's educating new machinists like myself. I have a great relationship with my HFO, my Haas Factory Outlet, machining time savers down in Anaheim. My applications guys like Bob Akins and James Fisher, every time I'm in a jam, they're always there to help me. And when they don't have answers, they find them quickly. That means a lot to me. Not to say that I couldn't have had a similar experience through Ellison, but I've never bought anything from them, and so I just didn't know. At the end of the day, when I finally made my decision, I kind of see it this way. I don't know that the VF2 as a machine is necessarily a better machine than, say, the DNM 4500 or any other machine you might be looking at. But I think as a total solution, I really like the control. There's all kinds of videos and stuff that, show you how to run 5-axis with the Haas control. Post processors are relatively easy to come by for stuff. I use SolidWorks with HSM Works or Fusion 360. I kind of jump back and forth. So post processors are pretty easy to find. Obviously, no machine's perfect, but here are a few things that I really like about the VF2. It's considerably more rigid than my Super Mini Mill was. I run these big 1-inch drills with through spindle coolant through P20 tool steel, which is like 4140 pre-hard. Rockwell 30C, about 300 Brunel. Pushes right through, no problem, no issues whatsoever. Gives me really nice cuts on the face mill, where sometimes on the Super Mini Mill, because it wasn't quite as rigid, I couldn't quite take quite as wide or deep of a cut. I personally really like the new Haas control. I know it's got some glitchiness, and we'll talk about that here in the future. The TRT 160 is a really simple integrated solution so far that I've had pretty good luck with. It definitely kind of softens the learning curve for 5-axis. And it's really easy to get things like post processors for Haas machines for just about any CAM software because the machines are just so common. Everybody's got them. Last but not least, there's a huge support community through forums and Facebook groups. There are a lot of guys out there running these machines, and a lot of them are just more than happy to do whatever they can to share their knowledge and help you succeed with your machine. A lot of these guys have gone out of their way to help out, and it means a lot, and it really makes life so much easier for a new machinist. Do I have any complaints or gripes? Yeah, I guess-ish. It's a little frustrating when you spend a lot of money, like over $100,000 on a machine, and you watch these videos online that show them using like these macros and these setups, and then you get the machine, and that stuff doesn't even work. The stuff you watched online doesn't work. And I know this seems like something really small, but on my Super Mini Mill, it's got this shiny hand wheel, and the action of the hand wheel is just buttery smooth. And then when I got the new VF2, which is only 6-7 months later, or 8 months later, I guess, the hand wheel's got like this dull silver appearance, and it's kind of crunchy and clunky, and it doesn't feel as nice. And I look back at other machines. I look at the Z-axis way cover on old machines. I look at some of the older machines that had a nice stainless faceplate on the control as opposed to the aluminum ones that are on the machines now. And I can't help but feel like somebody at Haas is losing touch with their user base. I'm all for cost cutting. I'm all for providing value, but don't do it at the expense of performance or where your operators and owners interact with the machines. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if I could just write a check for a brand new encoder wheel, the same one that's on the Super Mini Mill, $150, $200, I'd write it right now, because every time I grab the handle, the hand wheel on the VF2, it's just crunchy, and I don't know, I just don't like it. They kind of set an expectation with the Super Mini Mill, and now they changed it with the VF2. There are a lot of little things that tell me that there's like a little bit of a disconnect. I'm sure that a lot of people that buy CNC machines, if you own a shop that has 50 machines, then you don't care about baseball hats with Haas logos. You don't care about little sweet magnets and swag and stuff like that. But if you're a small shop like me that only has 1 or 2 machines, or you're an owner-operator, you're proud of the machine that you decided to purchase with your own money, and you want some swag, and Haas just doesn't get it. They don't get it at all. That's why you can't even buy any of that stuff. The stuff that you see floating around out there, it's unobtainium, and it's years and years old. And last but not least, I kind of already alluded to this, but putting these tools out into the field that have macros in the control that can cause the machine to crash or fail and not offering up service bulletins or notices to the people that have invested their money in these things. Super disappointing for sure. And then I actually had the machine updated. The software on the machine was updated so that it wouldn't have this error where you couldn't jog the probe. But then they didn't actually update the macro for the rotary. I mean, these things aren't cheap. And I get that it's difficult, but it just kind of feels like they're not prioritizing customer experience the way I would have expected them to do on something that's, you know, a pretty sizable purchase. All right, guys, that's it. Let's talk bottom line conclusion. Overall, I'm happy with the VF2. I think it's a fair value. I spent about $111,000 on this machine plus the 5-axis rotary. There were some incentives and some deals, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, but that's about what it is. If you were to go on HaasCNC.com right now and quote out the same machine that I have, the base price of the machine is about $111,000. Now, you can get a lot of machine. I mean, an Okuma M460V, I think, bases out at about $119,000. So $110,000 VF2 is like, it's like the most hopped up Honda Civic you can get, you know, when you could maybe step into a Lexus. But I was comfortable. I had a comfort zone and I was in it, and so that's why I made my decision. I think the machines are a fair value. They're a good value when you buy them at the lower end. They're a fair value when you buy them at the higher end like I did. They're capable. Obviously, they're probably not going to compete with an Okuma or a Mazak or a Matsura. But maybe more important than anything, they're easy to use and they have a big support community. So the bottom line is this. Am I happy? Yes, I am. Would I buy this machine again? Yes, I would. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video just as much as I enjoyed making it, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.